future stages of life, the result of the previous crises are still woven in to the experience. So you might be in this stage, and this is the main crisis that you're dealing with, but you will still have the effects of all of the other 7 crises woven in. Okay? Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So this is your lift plan, okay? So it says 1, 2, R. So you flip down 1, 2, R. Okay? And then do you see this gap here? Right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna take your shuttle and put it through the gap, just like that. So this is the weaving metaphor, Joan Erikson's weaving metaphor of Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. So the Eriksonian stages, there are 8 stages, each represented by a particular crisis. And these 8 stages are represented by the 8 vertical stripes here. So 8 different stripes, different colors. And then as you go up the piece, you get those same 8 colors in horizontal stripes. This type of woven item is called a gamp. A gamp is a sort of weaving sampler where you do vertical stripes and horizontal stripes of the same thing, and then you can see how the colors interact, or if you're doing patterns, you can see how the patterns interact. The idea is that each stripe represents a particular crisis, and each horizontal stripe represents a stage of life. And so where the crisis is the same color as the stage of life, that's the primary focus of development during that stage. And it's a solid square, so solid red, solid white, solid rusty orange, etc.
So the first stage down here would be trust versus mistrust, which would be 0 to a year and a half, roughly. The second stage would be autonomy versus shame, which would be roughly a year and a half to 3 years old. The third stage would be initiative versus guilt, which is about 3 to 5 years old. The fourth stage would be industry versus inferiority, 5 to 12 years old.
This stage right here, the gold stripe, is identity versus role confusion. So that's where, that's where you are if you're an adolescent, basically, high school, middle school. The next one is intimacy versus isolation, quest for long-term relationship, I suppose. The next one is generativity versus stagnation. That's most of your life, most of your adult life. That's where you're trying to figure out how you'll pass on your knowledge and wisdom to the next generation, or take care of the next generation. And then finally, the last one is integrity versus despair, which is, I suppose, where you look back at your life and decide whether you've lived it with integrity.